unwanted pregnancy of less than 9 weeks.
Is this gonna kill me? Am I gonna be okay? Like, is this legit medication?
Obviously, it's a little sketchy to like get medication from the internet. I don't know, it was a risk I was willing to take.
I cramped really bad. I got in the shower. By 2 o'clock in the morning, it was over.
I didn't tell anybody, nobody knew.
What happens if Roe v. Wade is overturned? As more states criminalize and restrict abortion access, some people imagine a world where abortion is illegal again. They talk about a return to back alley procedures and coat hangers, and women taking matters into their own hands. But this overlooks something important. Some women are already giving themselves abortions at home, away from doctors and clinics.
As abortion access at clinics becomes more and more constrained, I would anticipate that more people will look for options, including online options.
Well, you know, you'll go back to a position like they had, where people will perhaps go to illegal places,
Yeah.
but you have to ban it.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form.
I have 3 kids, all with special needs. I love being a mom. It's the best job in the world. My husband had not been working for around 3 months. We had no money coming in. Things were very, very tough. I had to like swallow my pride and ask friends for money to put gas in my car.
And was there a moment where you thought, I need and want to have an abortion?
It was just like, it was really difficult to get to that point, especially as someone who, you know, has been a Republican voter, who lives in a predominantly Republican atmosphere. You know, I was Catholic. Like, I just didn't believe in that from anyone, much less myself.
I grew up over in a little town close to where I go to school now. It was southern, rural, conservative people, you know. I mean, like, obviously, like, my mom never talked to me about, like, periods or, like, sex or anything. Like, I had to figure all that out on my own. This is, like, my second boyfriend. I started dating him over the summer, and around Christmas, we broke up. It just never occurred to me that I could, like, go through and, like, have a child. I don't want to say, like, keep the baby, because to me, it didn't feel like a baby at the time. I know to some people it does, but like, to me it didn't.
The local clinic had been closed down for some time. The closest clinic to me was 3 hours away. When I called them, they said that they accepted my insurance and my insurance would cover the procedure 100%. However, they would need to be paid up front in cash, and then I would need to submit to my insurance company for reimbursement.
The average abortion at 10 weeks or less costs around $500. In some states, including Florida, Medicaid and some insurance companies are banned from covering it.
At the time, my bank account was negative $500, and that was negative $500 just so we could keep the lights on. There just was no money, like not even, there was no money to go there and do that. How am I going to get 3 hours away? Where is the gas going to come from? Who's going to watch my kids?
Eventually you found something on the internet.
Yeah, I looked at all kinds of like crazy offshore, like rogue pharmacy websites that were trying to charge like $400 for the pills. And I was like, oh my God, what if I have to do this?
Like, I know a little about, like, you know, abortions and like the process, but I also knew that, like, in Mississippi, I mean, nobody really does it. I mean, I watched people go through high school, like, find out they're pregnant, that's it, they're having a baby. Like, nobody talked about the alternatives.
There are now 6 states in America with just a single abortion clinic, and Mississippi is one of them. To get an abortion in Jackson, Nicole would have had to take a bus for several hours and then stay overnight at a hotel, because Mississippi mandates a 24-hour waiting period. The abortion itself would have been $600.
That's why I was looking online.
There are dozens of websites marketing abortion medication, many selling the same kinds of pills that are available to women in the US as an alternative to surgical abortion when they're less than 10 weeks pregnant. These sites are pretty easy to find. They're unregulated, they don't require prescriptions, some make unsupported medical claims, and a lot seem to sell supplies from abroad. But a couple of months ago, I noticed women talking online on message boards and subreddits about this new website, which was different from the others because it's run by a doctor in Europe.
AIDS Access started in April 2018. It's an online consultation. I review their requests. I set up a Skype call if necessary. If there are no contraindications, I can prescribe them the medicines that are needed to do an abortion with medicines. And I refer them to a pharmacy in India where they can get the medicines and to their home addresses.
Dr. Gompertz became famous in the 90s for giving abortions on a boat in international waters to women who lived in countries where abortion was illegal. Later, when medication became more available, she switched tactics and started prescribing abortion pills. At first, it didn't occur to her that women in the United States would seek out her services, because, after all, abortion is legal across the country. But then she started getting letters from American women.
No one will help me because we live in the Bible Belt and there's no help with an abortion. I've tried taking a lot of vitamin C to abort and put parsley up my vagina. Didn't work. They are potentially doing things that will harm themselves, like taking too much vitamin C, putting things in their uterus, which is really dangerous. The last email that I received was from a girl that wanted to go to a local Planned Parenthood, but the boyfriend tracked her location and showed up at the clinic. Another woman also says, I'm 4 weeks pregnant and I'm in a really bad abusive relationship and I don't have money and I have got health problems.
Between March 2018 and March 2019, Aid Access says it received requests from around 21,000 people and wrote prescriptions for more than a third of them. The patients cover every state and the District of Columbia. I spent months looking for people who had used Aid Access. I left dozens of notes on message boards where I found women gathering in real time to share tips and advice. That's how I met Nekoli and Nicole, who both wanted to share their stories despite the potential risks.
I immediately went onto their website, filled out their questionnaire. They said, we'll help you, and it's about $95. They also had an option, like if you couldn't afford the $80, $90, whatever it was, they would send it to you for free. But I just felt like, even though I was in such a bad state, there was probably like a teen girl out there. I wouldn't want to take that medication from somebody who could have needed it, could have been a rape victim or something. I found a way to get the money, and I paid it.
Yeah, I was at 6 weeks when I went online and filled out the information, and they were like, by the time you get it, it could be 8 to 10 weeks. Once it gets to 12 weeks, we think the medicine is less reliable, so that was kind of a timely thing. It had to happen pretty quickly.
And what did you know about whether this was legal, not legal?
Honestly, I wasn't sure.
I just kind of automatically assumed that they were kind of operating in a gray area.
At best, the legality of self-induced abortion is complicated.
We know of at least 21 people throughout the U.S. who have been arrested and some imprisoned for either allegedly ending their own pregnancy or helping someone they love do so. We suspect, though, that that is the very tip of the iceberg. In too many cases, it has been a healthcare provider or a social worker who has turned a person into the police.
There are 6 states that ban self-induced abortion. In other states, like where Nekoli and Nicole live, the law is less explicit. Women have been accused of unusual crimes, like concealment of a birth, improper disposal of fetal remains, and unlawful practice of medicine.
These laws vary greatly from state to state. They're usually unearthed from the annals of history, really antiquated laws, or laws that have been manipulated far beyond the intent of the lawmakers who put them in place.
On top of the self-abortion itself, there's the fact that women have ordered these unregulated prescription drugs online, which is illegal and potentially unsafe, according to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
I kept watching them on the USPS website, tracking them, and it took 2 weeks to get into U.S. Customs, I think, and then once they got into U.S. Customs, they stalled for 2 weeks. And I was having a heart attack. I was like, they're never coming. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
This is the envelope that it came in. It kind of looked a little sketchy, and they also had the box with the medicine in it, which looks pretty legit, and also information on how to take the medication.
Do you have an unwanted pregnancy of less than 9 weeks? First, swallow the tablet of mifepristone. 24 hours later, put 4 pills of misoprostol under your tongue and keep the tablets there for at least 30 minutes.
They're very, very safe. The chance of having a serious complication with medication abortion, meaning something like being hospitalized or having a blood transfusion or requiring surgery, is exceedingly rare. It's about 0.3% of all cases. It has a similar safety profile to having a surgical abortion or a vacuum aspiration abortion.
The difference when women go to a clinic is that they're given medical screenings to make sure they aren't more than 10 weeks pregnant, and to look out for other risk factors that would make abortion medication unsafe.
If she has a blood clotting disorder or she's on anticoagulants, then the medications aren't recommended. Women commonly died or had serious medical complications from self-induced abortion using coat hangers and other invasive techniques. And the availability of these medications really just dramatically changes the safety profile of self-managed abortion. These medications are incredibly safe, certainly when they're provided by a clinician, but I think also as long as women can access high-quality medications and have accurate information about how to use them.
It's a very painful process. Even just a tiny, 9-week pregnancy was painful for days. I cramped really bad. And I got in the shower, and by 2 o'clock in the morning, it was over. And I took some NyQuil, and I went to sleep. Since I had obtained the medication in kind of a gray area sort of way, I was afraid to go to my doctor and get checked out.
The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists opposes the prosecution of women for self-induced abortion, on the grounds that this could scare women away from seeking medical attention if they need it.
It was not a good time. Do you want me to go into detail, kind of okay.
As much as you're comfortable.
Yeah, okay, so probably 3 to 4 hours, I was kind of hunched over the toilet, really bad cramps, started passing clots of blood and I guess other stuff tissue probably. So I finally fell asleep. And when I woke up, my whole bed was covered in blood. There was so much blood, and I was oh my gosh.
In March, the FDA issued a warning letter to Aid Access, ordering Dr. Gompertz to immediately cease her activities, saying that she was introducing unapproved drugs into the country and posing a risk to consumers. The FDA declined to be interviewed. In response, Dr. Gompertz says she doesn't intend to stop what she's doing.
It was really tough those first few weeks afterwards, having this happen and then going back to school and classes and nobody knows. I'm sort of religious, so I was I'd rather live with the sin, I guess, instead of putting it through what could be a terrible life.
I felt like if I hadn't done it, I would have died, or my kids would have got neglected. I know this will be difficult for most people to hear or understand, but I felt absolutely no remorse.